All right, hey everybody, we are live post-season Brownie post game Wednesday show. We had a lot of fun things to talk about this season, and now we are. It's come to its epic conclusion, but the Wednesday show must continue. So with me as always, I've got Mike Rostano right over there, and I have my dad who's joining us down there in the bottom. And Mike, we'll start off with you. How are you feeling post Kansas City?
It took a bit. I would be lying to you if I told you that it didn't. I don't know if you guys caught Andrew Barry's press conference today, but I sort of felt the way he did. It stung Sunday, it stung Monday, it stung Tuesday. And today, I've gotten to the point where, it is what it is. It was a great season. There's
Mm-hmm.
no taking that away. Uh, you know, we couldn't sniff 11 wins in, 5 seasons. So, to get 11 wins, to beat the Steelers, to get in, and then turn around and beat them in their house the next week, and then, I mean, really, you know, you take that play at the goal line. It should have been targeting. It wasn't. That's the way the ball drops, as they say. There were plenty of opportunities, I thought, um, after that and in the second half to have been able to win that game, but ultimately, we just didn't have the horses. I mean, it was you could tell that you know they just had superior talent
Excuse me.
on the defensive side of the ball, especially in terms of comparing our defense to their defense. And for me, that was ultimately the difference because I mean, Henny had a couple nice plays, but the game was there for the asking, and they just couldn't get it done. So
Right.
that's where I'm at. I've already started tinkering into the where we are salary cap wise, who's restricted, who's unrestricted, uh, and we can get into that a little later on. But that's where I am today on Wednesday, January 20th. How about you two?
Dad, how you feeling?
Well, I went over the game, uh, and uh, I agree with Mike on everything. We had a chance to win, uh, and we had a chance to stop them, and we didn't do either one. At the end, we didn't stop them, and we didn't. After the interception, we didn't drive down and like we normally do and score a touchdown. And that would have been a go-ahead touchdown after they missed a field goal, and yeah, that stings a little bit. But Mahomes was out, and it would have been a questionable victory by everybody. And then, of course, we got to play the Bills anyway in Buffalo. So it would have been nice to get one more weekend. Uh, we can now look forward to some of the things that Mike talked about. The salary cap, the trades, the free agents, the draft, all that stuff that's going to go on. We got five. I think it was five coaching vacancies that turned up. So I was keeping my fingers crossed that they weren't going to go after any of the Browns coaches like Callahan or one of our guys that have really did a good job this year. Uh, keep your coaching staff intact is pretty big. And of course, when you get five coaching jobs open up, you got five staffs that open up. So all of a sudden, you need a defense coordinator, you need an offensive coordinator, you need a line coach. I mean, you need all those positions and magnify that times five, and that creates a lot of opportunities for guys. Now, granted, some of them are coming from other teams. Maybe they'll sit out a year before they try to coach again or whatever. And you got the coaching situations in the in the college ranks, and you got Urban Meyer coming back. So a lot of stuff is going to happen. It's going to be interesting. I'm over it because Mike, as you said, our Super Bowl was the week before with Pittsburgh, and we won. We beat
Mm-hmm.
their first string team. We beat them convincingly. They made mistakes. So be it. You make mistakes, you lose, and that's the
Right.
name of the game. We played well. We scored a lot of points. We didn't score a lot of points against Kansas City, which we probably thought we would score more than 17, but we missed some opportunities. And so I'm over it. I'm ready. I'm moving on, and sit back, watch the championship games, watch the Super Bowl, and of course, everything starts right after the Super Bowl is over.
Yeah, for me, personally, I'm, you know, I think I came to peace with how the season ended pretty quickly. Um, for me, the whole time, my barometer for success was making the playoffs. The fact that we not only made it by beating Pittsburgh because we had to beat them, but then having to go and play them the very next week. Um, it, it was just like a somewhat of a dream scenario. And that's the part of it that I'm like, I feel pretty good about, and that's why I wasn't, super woe is me after that. I was, a little bit, I was disappointed. I think, Mike, you're right with, the spearing call or leading with a helmet call was just really disappointing. And, it's very, very unfortunate that it went down like that, but it is what it is, and it's like, I don't know. It's almost like so fitting that we have like our season ends on with the refs blowing a terrible call, um, a terrible call to end the season. But at least it wasn't the last play of the game. I mean, we had an opportunity there at the end, and we just didn't. Like you were saying, we probably just didn't have the right horses. And with Odell Beckham being out, with the fans not being there and not being able to experience the season, this was a virtual season for a lot of people, ticket holders like yourself that didn't get an opportunity to see the team live, and still we had so much fun. We won so many games. It was just such a great experience. And you know, my expectation wasn't Super Bowl or bust this year. I think there are teams out there. I think Green Bay and Tampa are really Super Bowl or bust. And you look at Philip Rivers retired today, so he's out. The Colts were Super Bowl or bust. The Saints, Drew Brees is going to have to make a decision. Uh, Ben Roethlisberger is going to have to make a decision. And for us, I just look at it and it's green pastures right ahead of us. The light of the end of the tunnel is blaring right at our face. And Dad, as you were mentioning, the coaches, we're not going to imagine that we have coaching stability, we have front office stability, we've got cap room that we can go spend. And it was funny when they showed it again that we had so much cap room, and they're like, "Oh, we get to raise another banner in the rafters for the cap room champions." But it's funny. It really seems like this is now the time to go out there and spend the money, not overpay, but spend the money to get the key players and get the depth. This year, it just felt like we had a lot of growing to do. We had a lot of experience to gain. We had a lot of people that had to prove it on the field, and I think a lot of that happened. Kevin Stefanski proved himself. The front office. If the front office did anything this season, they hired Kevin Stefanski, and that's like a big win. They didn't bring in any marquee free agents or do anything like that, or the draft wasn't really all that impressive, but they created stability, and I think that's the key. Any Browns fans out there, I mean, the Browns fans, the people that are out there that are talking about, I don't know this whole Jarvis thing came from, but people are out there talking about how we should move off of Jarvis, and I'm like, you guys are. I mean, you got to look at the options. Like we're in good shape. We have our leadership. We've got the culture. We got good things moving forward, and like that's just I just thought it was a great season. And that's why I made that video. That the Browns fan video, because it's the way it started off was disappointing with that Ravens game, and then throughout the season, and I think showing the emotions of so many people and showing how all these great Browns content creators are out there doing stuff, and then we made the playoffs, and to see the reaction from so many people when we made the playoffs and how much it meant to them was great, and that kind of helped me. It helped take the edge off of the sting a little bit more. It was very like cathartic for me to do that. And but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
could have been worse. It could have been Baker drives down in with 6 minutes. He drives down, he scores, they go ahead, and the the Chiefs get the ball back, and Henning drives them down and scores, and they beat us.
yeah,
Imagine how we'd feel then with Henning beating us as opposed to Mahomes in the last 2 minutes because our defense couldn't hold and went into prevent, and then that's all they'd be talking about from now until next season. How we collapsed, how it was the giveaway or whatever. We had a
yeah.
chance.
And the thing is though, no one expected us to win that game.
Right.
Nobody gave us a chance. They were making us 10-point underdogs, and
Mhm.
we made it a game. And it's unfortunate that Pat Mahomes went down. It was also unfortunate that Jedrick Wills went down first play of the damn game. And
Right.
it just goes. I think a lot of the players were a lot more dinged up in that game than we know, and so durability was a concern all season. We have to add depth, but in terms of the performance that we had, was it perfect? No, but we didn't collapse. We didn't give up. When Baker threw that interception and they didn't get any points off of it, that was, I think, a big, like signal from the heavens going, "Hey, this isn't over. Try to do it." But everybody out there was saying we just earned the respect of the league. Finally, this is not a team to be taken lightly. And looking at our schedule next year, there's a lot of wins on that schedule. And
Tough
depending,
schedule. Tough schedule. I looked at it. We play the NFC Central: Chicago, Packers, Minnesota, and the Lions.
Mhm.
As opposed to this year, we played the NFC North, and we had the Giants. We beat them. The Redskins. We beat them. The Eagles. We beat
well,
them, and the Cowboys. We beat them. We were 4-0 against that division.
Yep.
yeah, better than and that against that than our own. But
Right.
so let's talk about that. I mean, think about that. Think about that AFC or that NFC North with I think Minnesota and Detroit should be wins. They're both teams that are kind of in flux. Who knows if Matt Stafford's even going to be back for Detroit, and then Chicago I think is a beatable team.
Sure.
I think they're absolutely beatable. And Green Bay, who knows? They win the Super Bowl and Aaron Rodgers calls it quits.
Right.
It's
New
it
ball game.
yeah, it's a whole new thing. If Aaron Rodgers is there, that's going to be tougher. But I honestly think we can bang with anybody right now. Anybody we can play with. If we played that close with Kansas City, in Kansas City, we can play with anybody. And I think these guys with $30 million of cap space and with the draft coming up, we're going to make some moves and hopefully make some intelligent ones to do it. Um,
You were talking about free agency and whatnot. And I know you brought up Jarvis, but and unless we've all been living under a rock the past few days, as you said, there's like Twitter wars going on already about should we is Jarvis worth it, etc. And I think the reason why everybody's all up in arms, except for the one obvious that just is not a fan, but um, if you look at OBJ's salary, he's a 15.7 cap hit, but 12.7 of that is a dead cap. Then you look at Jarvis, and Jarvis is a 14.8 million cap hit, but only 3 million uh, of his is dead money. So
mhm.
I personally think that it's very talked about OBJ today. He is a part of the plan. They're not going to get rid of him. If anybody has watched those videos, and I know you and I were texting last night, I mean, OBJ's Instagram story. I don't know if you guys listening out there saw it last night, but I mean, and of course he can't, but the dude looks like he could play tomorrow. I
Right.
mean, just box jumps on that knee and pushing
Well, he finished
off and
25% ahead of schedule. So I mean, he's working hard.
yeah, I mean, he absolutely looks fabulous. So, he's coming back. Him and Jarvis are a team. I know it's a business, but that's their ultimate goal at this point. And I would probably if you asked me for a percentage, I would probably say that there is at least a 70% chance that Jarvis will restructure in order to free up some more room in order to, to go get some other guys in free agency and try and take care of a couple of a couple of our own guys, Higgins, etc. So
Well, when they restructure contracts, it's not like Jarvis is gonna give up money, right? He's just changing the way that the money comes in, so then it frees up more room in the cap. Is that what you're saying in terms of a restructure, or is he saying like he's gonna be willing to take less money?
it depends on how they could structure it. But I think with Tom Brady maybe that restructured and lost a little bit, but he tried to make another run. So it remains to be seen. Um, and he looking at his stuff, yeah, he had a 1.5 million signing bonus. Um, yeah, I mean between him and OBJ, they are 14, uh, close to 15% of the cap is just on those two.
Well,
Well,
they're looking at Baker's contract too. He could get an extension to lock him up. Um, there'd be a lot of teams if they don't lock him up. There'd be a lot of teams that would be after him. Um, especially in Texas. Uh, they would love to have him down there. The fan base and everything else. He's a winner. He's got guts. He's got heart. He bounces back. He can play extremely well. He can make mistakes, but like anybody, no quarterback is
look at
perfect.
Look at Drew Brees, look at Ben Roethlisberger. I mean,
Look at Wilson, how he started the season. After 4 games, they were calling him the MVP, and then he went in. He took a dive for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden he wasn't the MVP candidate anymore.
Speaking of Baker, he has a very handsome, I'll say, roster bonus at the start of the league year. A cool $4.1 million.
Ooh,
yeah.
And Denzel's not far behind him with 3.7.
I mean,
Sort of the structure of the rookie deal, but
you
and
know,
we need both of those guys.
yeah, and I think with Baker's such a marketable guy.
Yeah.
Not only from his just contract and putting tickets in fans in the seats when that eventually comes back, but the jersey sales, he's the face, the attitude of the whole team, and he has that it factor that that really came out this year. And I was worried that first Ravens game. I was worried that we weren't gonna see that rookie attitude and swagger that he had. But then he turned it around right away in Cincinnati. And if I look at that, thank God that we had Cincinnati on a short week at home after that Ravens game, because who knows if that would have, if that wound would have festered a little bit, and people could have been, the media could have got to one of the players and talked, and somebody might have let something slip about maybe if Stefanski wasn't prepared enough or something like that. Like, who knows what could have happened? And the fact that we were able to come back and beat them, and honestly, not a terrible Cincinnati team. I think they're a lot better than what the record showed. And
Yeah, they're getting better. They're getting better. And Burrow is the great addition. Unfortunately, he got hurt. It'll be interesting to see how he comes back, whether he's ready for the opener, if he's working just as hard as Alex Smith did, and as OBJ is doing. He'll be ready, and he'll be a force to be reckoned with. They'll pick up some new talent. Maybe they go into free agency and pick up some guys. So we can't just check them off as automatic wins next year. They're going to play tough. They beat Pittsburgh. Um, they didn't lay down, and they obviously have holes much more than we do. So hopefully we stay ahead of them by improving our defense. I think that's where we got to concentrate next year, is certainly on defense and filling as many holes, getting as many starters, moving up the guys who are played well at the end of the season and give them a chance to start, that type of thing. Nobody wants to leave. I think Higgins is the only one as a free agent. Is that right, Mike?
so Well, we got a few. So you've got Higgins. Um, Vernon's a free agent. They
Mhm.
touched on him today. Kevin Johnson, T. Mitch, Carl Joseph, B.J. Goodson, Kendall Lamb, Sendejo, Malcolm Smith, Ogunjobi, which by the sounds of his a quote that I saw today, I think the writing's on the wall there. Cody Parkey, Richard, as we just talked about, Kadero Hodge, Vincent
Wow.
Taylor.
They were
Yeah,
all free agents.
all free agents.
Wow.
Some of them are some restricted, but the only out of all the ones that I just brought up, the only restricted is Kadero Hodge and Tavier Thomas.
I think Hodge will be back. I think he showed enough that he's one of those guys that I think we can rely on. Made some great catches this year, so I'd be disappointed if we let him go. Higgins has got to be somebody that we prioritize to get signed. We got to get him paid. But a lot of those guys I think are familiar type players for us. But
Mhm.
I think the reality is how many of those guys are core to the window, right? Malcolm Smith played great this year, but is he somebody that we can count on, for the next 3 or 4 years? I just don't know. I mean, he's getting up there. I think
Yeah,
Goodson would be a guy that I'd like to bring back. I think he was definitely serviceable and had his moments this year, and he's one of those guys, and he was uh, you know he could stay healthy, right? So other than I think we had a COVID experience with him, but he's one of those guys that I think we could build upon. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a Clemson guy, and I was asking him, I was like, "Who's this guy, BJ Goodson? Like, where did he come from?" And he was like, "Yeah, he's like, BJ is one of those guys that he's never gonna light it up. He's not like a Ray Lewis guy that commands a lot of attention, but he is just he's just a workhorse. He's a producer, right? And behind the scenes type of guy. And at the end of the game, you'll be like, oh yeah, I guess he did have 6 tackles. Good on BJ Goodson. So we need guys like that. Well, we need some role players, and but I think there's a lot, and there's a lot of opportunities with some of those guys. As much as I like Larry, the production wasn't there.
no,
If you're in and you have an opportunity to go in and make plays and disrupt things, and if it's not there, then it's not. Um, Ovi, he was disruptive. Sheldon Richardson was at times very disruptive. You know,
Mhm.
um,
Hooper had a good year. I mean, great pickup, good blocker, good hands for the most part. He dropped a couple, but he made some great catches, key catches at key points in the game. Get that first down to keep the chains moving. So, uh, tight end looks pretty good to us at this point. Certainly don't have to spend a lot of money there,
yeah, and
but
since we picked up the 5th year option on Njoku, he's got it. He's coming back
right.
unless we trade him, right? So, and he's not going to hold out or anything. We gave him his 5th year, and
Hmm.
Hooper was probably the signature free agent that we brought in last year, and I think at this point, other than depth on the offensive line, I think defense is where we have to focus. A lot of those guys, Mike, that you mentioned, a lot of them were defensive players,
yeah, and
and yeah, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say if you look at the offensive side of the ball, you take somebody like Wyatt Teller, 4 year, $2.7 million contract is what he has. 678,000 is his average. So that there's going to be some negotiation there because obviously we know he's worth more than 678 grand a year.
It comes down to him being able to stay healthy.
Yep.
Because there are guys out there that are great, but if they can't stay on the field, then it doesn't matter too much. Um,
But to
he's
your point too, with the on the defensive line with Ogunjobi, you've got Andrew Billings coming back next year, and there's one other guy. His name just slipped my mind. You might know Curtis Weaver. That's who it is. Curtis Weaver comes back.
Billings. I'm excited to see. I am
Yeah,
very excited. And but here's the deal. Those guys who opted out for COVID, who knows? Um, who knows if they're going to be welcomed back with open arms? I mean, you've got a team of guys that, really really went to war together this year. And they're probably going to want to be around those guys again and try to make that happen. So it's going to be interesting if a guy like Billings who opted out and said, no, I'm just pay me my few $100,000 to sit at home, how they're going to be treated is going to be
imagine if
interesting.
we would have had him this season, plugging in the middle there.
Mm.
He would have definitely picked up the slack where Ogunjobi was, you know, he was serviceable, but that's about the he sort of, I don't want to say he was a disappointment, but I think what we thought Larry Ogunjobi was going to be, and what he turned out to be at this point. He's 27 years old. He's been in the league a little bit. You know, two different tales.
Maybe he hit maybe he has a softer ceiling than really what we thought.
Yeah,
And I know Miles likes him. I know that he's a great teammate, but is it is he going to be one of those guys that can get us to that championship?
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that this offseason is going to come down to what can these guys do? What's the plan? Are we going to go after it in the draft? Because to be honest, like even if our best players right now are still under 25, that gives us it still does give us time to develop one or two more guys that can really step up and be lethal for us. And with the 26th pick or whatever we have, you're not going to get the top talent guy, but you could get one of those guys who could have been a top 10 guy who slipped out because of, one thing or another, and
Right.
could turn into, just a really productive player. But typically, the thing is with rookies, it takes most of them 2 to 3 years of experience in the league to become very, very productive, unless they are just elite. Like Denzel Ward was elite coming into the league. Miles Garrett was elite coming into the league. But even Miles arguably did take at least 2 years to really get going because he had that injury as well. So there's no guarantees with these guys. I am more of a fan of bring in, look for another Sheldon Richardson. Look for another guy like that who's got a ton of potential, a lot of experience, and you plug him into the right situation. But I think it goes a little bit beyond just what you're gonna what their PFF score or really what they can produce. It also they have to match with the culture of what it is. We don't want to bring in like a Jadeveon Clowney, you, somebody who's just looking
Yeah,
for
we don't
one
need
more payday, like and Dominican
more.
Sue. You
Yeah, we
know,
don't need more distractions and off the field antics and uniforms and guys with attitudes on the field and think they're better than they are. Um, but we're hopefully we're past that, and anybody who comes in is going to see how we operate, how the players have adjusted. Even the big names, Landry and Odell and Baker and so forth, they've calmed it down, and they're focused on the field. They're not focused on what kind of notoriety they can get off the field by making statements or wearing crazy stuff, that type of thing. But going back to the schedule, the other thing that hit me when I looked at it was we played Kansas City, and so we're going to know. I don't know when, because I think Mike, you pointed out it doesn't tell you when the games are. What the sequence is of the games. So I don't know if we play them early, mid, or late. But we're going to get another shot at Kansas City,
I'm
and
wondering if
that'll tell us how we're stacking up.
yeah, I agree, and I wonder. I'm going to write this down right now because I have a feeling, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong. But I'm that was that the way that game went down. It's it's made for TV, and I wonder if we don't open against Kansas City and it's a Monday night or a Thursday
Ooh,
night or a Sunday night
exactly.
football game.
oh
I
yeah,
just I have a feeling that that might be, I mean, if you looked at the draw again on Sunday, our game again was head and shoulders above anything else that was on TV. So it's funny, we're with the world's team, right? People are People want to watch the Browns.
I mean,
Yeah, let's
looking
go
at.
open up against Baltimore.
Well, I hope we have a home opener. I hope we open at home, and Kansas City's going to be away, so we got to go back to Kansas City. But Mike, I think you're right. I think that will probably be a primetime game. If you look at our home opponents, you got to figure Pittsburgh or the Ravens could be a primetime game. I don't think the Texans, the Bears, the Broncos, the Lions, or the Raiders would necessarily. I mean, we could just get lucky with like a you know Texans Thursday night game or something like that. But the away opponents are a little bit more compelling for me with Green Bay and Kansas City specifically, right?
Right.
So you got to figure those ones are going to be hot. Us going to Lambeau, us going back to Kansas City, playing in a dome in Minnesota that we very rarely play into domes.
I think we had a good away record, didn't we, guys?
We had a
This
good
past
record. We had a good record at everything. I mean,
Yeah.
we were 12-6.
We didn't collapse just because we went on the road. Now,
No,
maybe with more fans and that type of thing, it may play to that home field advantage. But we
yeah,
played tough regardless of where we went.
I agree.
I'm I think the only thing that I'm like a little bit nervous about is we got to go to LA.
Hmm.
So we got to fly to LA, which sucks. Minnesota's a short trip. Kansas City's short. Green Bay's short.
Chicago.
Chicago's short. So all of those, the only one that's like is going to be a jaunt is that LA game. Hopefully that's like comes after a bye or something.
Right.
Like I that every dad you've told me from the time I was a little kid, we do not play well when we go to California.
It just seemed that way every time we played the Raiders, Seattle, San Francisco. Our guys are just like, they show up for one quarter and not show up for the other ones. It'd be interesting if when you guys get a chance to go back over the years, if you could, and look at what our record was against West Coast teams over the last, say, 5 years. That's obviously we weren't very good over the last 5 years, but maybe you have to go back further. But
Right.
I think it does. You don't lose as much coming from Seattle to Cleveland as you do going from Cleveland to Seattle or New York or Baltimore or Pittsburgh or any of those East Coast teams, Atlanta, Miami. You travel uh, that long a distance, time zone change, etc. If your guys adapt, great. But a lot of times I look at, if it's a toss-up game, if I was pick them, I would I'd go with the home team and I'd go with the West Coast team from if somebody was visiting from far away.
Yeah, I mean the good news is the Bears, the Broncos, the Lions, the Raiders, the Texans are all home, and I think, to be honest, if you're a season ticket holder, I think you're gonna have some fun games this year
Right.
or next year because those are all very winnable games.
Yeah,
And I think that the Chargers are going to be interesting because Herbert is an up and coming quarterback.
Right.
Minnesota is just weird. They're like, it really goes to show like how important Stephon Diggs was to them and how mediocre they were without him. So Minnesota's beatable. Kansas City's going to be Kansas City. I mean, they could be lethal or they could be average. Coming back off if they have another run, depending on what happens with Mahomes. I think looking at for the reports that I'm hearing is they're saying that they're trying to downplay it as not a concussion but like nerve damage that he had. He had like a nerve issue. He was knocked out cold. He was fist clenched, in that position of your body has shut down, and if I don't know. I mean, I understand there's 2 games left, but look at Troy Aikman. Troy
Well,
Aikman, he
he's in
kept
practice today. They let him practice, even though he's in protocol.
yeah.
They let him
He
practice.
practiced today, which was, and then our buddy Colin. I mean, he was lobbying for the game to be moved if
right.
Mahomes couldn't play. It's just, and I get it. It's all ratings and it's all BS, but it's just so funny how how these guys just move the goalposts like over and over and over again, and I mean, I guess that's why they, they've got the following that they do. But man, it's frustrating sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, and I get it. I mean, Pat Mahomes is for all intents and purposes, I think he's the new face of the NFL.
Yeah,
Whereas Tom Brady was the face of the NFL for the past 20 years, give or take how long Tom Brady's been in the league. But, um, it was really funny when they were when they were showing the ages of, the NFC quarterbacks with all those guys, and they showed the AFC guys. And the AFC is got young, exciting, up and
Right.
coming guys.
yeah.
I was another thing that was really interesting that it looks like the the Ravens are bringing back Roman as the offensive coordinator, and I saw Ingraven was asking his people on Twitter what they thought of that, and Ravens fans were overwhelmingly like not thrilled that they were bringing back Greg Roman.
Well,
So
did you see Harbaugh made a comment? I don't know if it was today in a presser or it was earlier in the week, but they had asked him, if you're trying to, bring in a quality, offensive, weapon type, whether, obviously the wide receiver spot, I think they're pretty set at running back, but wide receiver spot essentially is what they were talking about.
mhm.
And the person basically had said, what would you tell, these individuals that, you know, would look at your offense and say, you know, how am I supposed to do anything in this? How am I supposed to get, you know, the ball, etc. And apparently he was pretty fired up about the question and just basically said, look, if you're worried about, how many catches you have or how many yards uh, had per game, then you could go somewhere else and we'll look forward to playing you on Sunday. So they're it seems like they're living and dying by, the offense that they're running right now. And I don't know. I mean, it's crazy because you look, if you take our team for example, and of course there'll be a little bit of a drop off, but if you take like the Kansas City game for example, and you Baker goes down and Keenum's got to come in, there's a little bit of a drop off, but he's serviceable enough that he's going to move the ball down the field. And there's no question about that. Where you look at what the Ravens have going on, you know, and you saw it the other night. If Lamar gets hurt, that's the end game. They don't have anybody else. So and
Yeah.
you know what? How do you get how do you get a backup to come in essentially and you know go in and play the same game, if you will?
Mike, that's a really good point. That and that is I actually hadn't even thought about that in terms of number one.
Yeah,
How do you attract a a top free agent wide receiver who's going to look at teams and go, okay, I might not see the ball the whole game,
Mhm.
because you really look at it, and I mean, how many games were there that he had like six passes at halftime, ended up with like 14 passes the whole game, and out of them, five of them are going to Mark Andrews. Willie Snead might get one, Brown might get three, and that's it. That's your production, right? And they run the ball 70% of the time, right? And it's not that they're not going to win. I mean, Harbaugh, I think is a little flawed with his reaction there.
yeah,
People want to win, but they also want to feel like they're a part of what's making them win,
yeah,
right? And and it's great. You're like, yeah, it's like, hey, I want to win, but I want to help. I want to be a part of that to do that. And if you're a free agent and you're somebody who's going to command, some market, teams are going to be interested in you. What's your pitch?
Right.
Your pitch is we're most likely going to make the playoffs again after taking a step backwards, and our whole team revolves around the health of one skinny quarterback
yeah. Like
who
why is Allen
already has
Robinson?
gone.
Yeah. Why is Allen Robinson going to go to Baltimore? Right. I mean,
When you could look at the other teams that are out there that have quarterback, up in uh, like Buffalo, somebody's going to throw the ball a ton, or
I agree.
yeah, or the Chargers who have a young quarterback who's going to want to fire the ball around. I think the Browns really aren't necessarily an offensive destination at this point. We almost don't have enough footballs for the amount of talent we have in offense.
I could see Allen Robinson like in a, and I just chose him because for me, he's pretty
He's
much
probably the top guy, right?
the top wideout. But you look at someone like that, I could totally see him, going to Miami, or I could see, if Deshaun Watson works everything out in Houston and they actually get some people in place that actually want to obtain talent instead of jettison talent, then I could definitely see Allen Robinson landing in Houston, and then all of a sudden now Watson has got his not as good as DeAndre, but
He's got a
he's got
weapon
that.
there again.
Yeah, he's got the weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I could see. I mean, who knows? But then these guys make weird decisions. I could see him like going to the Raiders and being like, "Well, I want to go to the Raiders and play for Gruden and play in that stadium and be that." Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know where Allen Robinson's from. Also that could be home, being around family and stuff like that could play into it. Um, but I think real Browns fan Watson's out in Houston. Yeah, I think that is such a bad situation in Houston that they created for him.
I
You
just
know,
don't know where who who's going to give up the king's ransom, I guess is the question for Deshaun Watson. With our luck, he'd wind up in Pittsburgh. I don't see it. Uh,
I don't think I don't think they have enough to give for him.
I, I just think they're gonna. He actually posted something the other day that sort of alluded to the fact, like, hey, not we're gonna make this work, but it was more of a quote towards that in whatever minute possibility, of that. But I got to tell you, I can't see Houston giving up Deshaun Watson for like, and I know there's some in the chat talking about Miami, but I mean, in order to do that, then you're looking at what are you going to do? Are you going to take Tua, and then you're gonna, you know what I mean? And Miami's going to take
No,
Deshaun Watson,
I
and
think
then
what will happen is I think if the Texans are going to move off of Deshaun Watson, it's going to have to be somebody like like the Falcons who could say, all right, we'll take Deshaun Watson, we'll give you the number 4,
yeah, I
and
mean, Miami
and
could give the 3, but I just I don't.
Yeah,
If you took Tua last year, that means you believe in him,
right,
and
right.
I just can't see, why. You know what it is almost, and you guys tell me if you agree or disagree. It's almost like you're looking like the Browns all of a sudden because now instead of just developing the quarterback and taking talent at 3 and at 18 because they have 3 and 18, now all of a sudden, you're trading in Tua for Deshaun Watson, which don't get me wrong, he's an
big up.
upgrade,
It's a big upgrade there.
but now you lose, a blue chipper who's going to come in, who's going to be a very good pick at number 3, and somebody that now is also on a rookie contract. It's just
Yeah, but
you go.
look at it like this way as well. Let me play devil's advocate here.
Yep.
Look at Arizona. Same sort of thing. They were like, well, they drafted Rosen and turned around one season later and said, we're taking Kyler Murray. Like we're moving off of Rosen right away. We saw enough. And for those Miami games, because I watched some of those Miami games at the end because they were so critically important to us. And the one game, well, I think it was a Raiders game, right, where they had to bring Fitzpatrick back in. That to me, it was an awkward situation there, and I don't know if the players are all excited about him. And you bring in a king, like a Deshaun Watson in the prime of his career, who's could be the best quarterback in the NFL. Could be. That I
Yeah,
don't know.
he wants to start, so he's not going to go in and sit behind one of these other starting quarterbacks and hope that they get hurt or it's time for them to move on type of thing. So, I mean, Washington could be a good spot for him because Alex Smith is one play away from, being in a wheelchair. He's got a lot of guts.
I just don't think they have enough. They're gonna have to give up. Hey, they're gonna have to give up a king's ransom
The
to
only
to get
team
him.
that, yeah, I agree, and the only team. I mean, I'm looking at the draft board now. I mean, Washington has 19. That's not going to be enough.
No way.
Mhm.
So you would be looking at this year's 19, next year's one, and I'm sure maybe another one. I mean, you're talking about grade A
Well, here
talent.
and hold your thought there for a second, Mike, because
Yep.
I was listening to Cower today, and he was like, "Hey, if somebody wants to move up, to number 2 or number 3 to get Justin Fields, it's going to take 3 first round picks for an unknown.
Really?
It would take 3. So it's going to take this year, next year, and the year after, or like somebody like the Dolphins who have, the Dolphins wouldn't have to do it, but somebody like them who have multiple picks in the first round,
Well,
But
maybe
if
they watch draft day and they see how many first-round draft picks they can give up in one year, and second rounders
oh
in the second.
my point being, you've got a guy like Justin Fields who's going to command 3 first round picks,
Wow.
or a guy like Deshaun Watson, who, I mean, if Fields is worth 3, what's Deshaun Watson worth? 5? You know. So
Right.
anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike, but
No, no, no. You're
that was
good.
the point. It was like
Yeah.
there's a value of the unknown versus, I mean, look, somebody had a meme out there today about the Dallas Cowboys since the last time they made the playoffs. It's been like 24 years since they won a playoff game, and in the NFC, and Tom Brady comes to the AFC in 1 year with
Yeah.
Tampa Bay and goes and wins a playoff game. So it just goes to show how critically important to go in and get a veteran quarterback. You think? Let me ask you this: if you're Tampa Bay and you had the option to get Tom Brady for a year or 2, or Deshaun Watson for 10, I mean, you take Deshaun Watson all day, and he does the same thing for you, right? So that's the important thing about it. You can get a quarterback. If Miami had Deshaun Watson, they're making the playoffs this year without a doubt. They're a playoff team. So yeah. Anyway, Mike, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to
no, no.
ruin your train of thought there.
No, no. You're good.
Just got
I
excited.
was, yeah, no, no, no worries at all. Honestly, I was just looking up and down the draft board, and there's nobody else in the first round.
How about the
Up,
Jets, Mike?
what's that? I'm sorry.
With the Jets, where are they?
Number
The
2,
Jets are 2,
2 and 23.
2,
Yeah.
yeah, 2 and
So
23.
so
So
that'd be an interesting thing too. What if the Jets would give up number 2 and
now
Darnold?
I don't want to squash your excitement of Watson to the Jets, but reading some stuff from Salah, it seems like they like what they see in Darnold, and they and it could be a smokescreen. I mean, we know at this
Yeah,
time of the
Arizona did the
year,
same thing too. Yeah.
but it seems like they feel like there's some untapped talent there, and he's young, and but like I said, I mean, you never know. But what's really wild is, I already started doing mock drafts and stuff, and it's wild because I, I got to tell you guys, if I do, let's say I do 6 mock drafts in a row, out of those 6, Justin Fields isn't the second quarterback that comes off the board. It's Zach Wilson from BYU,
Mm-hmm.
and what I find interesting, and there's a whole lot of stuff out on him too, where they say that he's a spoiled rich kid, and he's a troublemaker or whatever. But the thing that I find really, really, really interesting about this year, and you guys tell me what you think, but we're not going to have a traditional scouting combine. So you're
Right.
not going to have those hidden gems or guys that were, you know, at the top of the board. Oh, they threw bad, or they had a bad, 5 cone drill or whatever.
Well,
It's
they're not playing the Senior Bowl, aren't they?
That I don't know. I know
I
I
know.
Some
Yes,
of
I think
it's true.
they're. I think they're. Well, I know they at least had the invites go out. I don't know if it's you
yeah, I don't
know.
know if they're playing it. I don't know because I mean, you look at the guys that are like Micah Parsons. You look at from Penn State, the linebacker.
Mhm.
I see him going between like 11 and 16 in these mocks, and he was a guy that opted out. So you I mean, obviously he's training this offseason. What I mean, he's as explosive and dynamic as you could get, you know, and he probably projects to like a Mike linebacker, but um, like, you just don't know. Like there's no so a kid like that you would say, oh, all right, well, you know, he sat out the season. We'll see what he does at the combine. There's no combine. It's going to be all virtual. So it to me, it's this is like a really really interesting off season in terms of the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the quarterbacks that are out there, you've got Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, the guys we've talked about, Zach Wilson, the Trey Lance kid from North Dakota State,
Yeah, it's another kid.
who's a beast, Mac Jones, who I is, I mean, I liked watching him play. I mean, he throws a great ball. I don't know if he's a dynamic type guy, but I think he can play in the league. And the other wild card that I've been watching and had my eye on the entire year is the kid from Florida, Trask.
Yeah.
I know he had a bad game at the end, but I mean, he threw 43 touchdowns, and I mean he's 6'5", 240. It's not like, I mean, you could do a lot with that frame. Look at
Yeah.
Josh Allen. I mean, you could do a lot with a big dude at quarterback. And
You know,
there's no short quarterbacks this year. They're all 6'3", 6'4",
you
with
you
6'6" being Trevor Lawrence.
you said a name earlier. You were talking about a couple of names. What were the names you just threw out there? There's
Uh, the new ones were just Trey Lance, Mac Jones, and
okay, stop.
Trask.
The second guy, what did you say his name was?
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. Now,
Yeah. Alabama.
it would not be a Wednesday show if I didn't bring up another guy named Mac.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to throw this out there. Very small sample size, but Mac Wilson had his highest rated game according to PFF against the Kansas City Chiefs. It was only 11 snaps, but he
Right.
had 5 tackles for a 91.8 PFF grade. So I just
Including the one against Pat Mahomes.
yeah. So you led me into that. So I couldn't let it go. Yeah,
I will.
I had to throw that in there.
I will tell you. I would. Ba- Based off of how the season started this year, with with Mac Wilson injuring Nick Chubb in practice,
Yeah.
get himself getting injured, and then the production that has just bottomed out. I'd be surprised if Mac Wilson makes the team next year. If he
Mm.
isn't just waived in the preseason. It depends on what they do in the draft, depends on what's out there. Again, I'm not rooting against him. So don't anybody who's out there, or Mac, if you happen to be listening, I'm not rooting against you, buddy. I'm just calling it as it is. The production wasn't there, and we still haven't seen the guy that the kid, and we really, I mean, he was like 19 when we drafted him or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's young.
yeah, he still has time to develop into a stud. We just haven't seen it yet, and that's where this team's gonna have to evaluate and go, hey, where are we with this guy? Because Taki looks like he can play. He doesn't always make the tackle, but neither did Joe Schobert, and everybody loved him.
That's true.
So, but in terms of the other quarterbacks that are out there, I don't think there's anybody else out there that I'm in love with. Ian Book out of Notre Dame, I think he's okay. I think he'll probably get drafted. I don't think he's going to be that great. Ellinger out of Texas, Franks out of Arkansas, Mond out of A&M, and then the last guy they have is Jamie Newman from Georgia, who are the guys that are the quarterbacks that are on the coming out.
You know, you know what's interesting? I just happened to look at the linebackers at PFF. and the final stats for the season. And you look at our guys, right? You had Malcolm Smith, 16. Taki Taki was 19, and then B.J. Goodson was just outside of the top 20 at 22.
Mhm.
So, for all intent and purpose, according to PFF, right, we had pretty solid linebackers, and we still saw the lack of good or elite, I guess you would say, linebacker play. So, I guess the point being is, imagine if you could get, and I don't think you can. Micah Parsons isn't a guy that's going to fall down that low, and I don't know if Barry and company, you know, value the linebacker spot as much as the cornerback spot. But I imagine what an elite guy like that would do for that middle of your defense.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's gonna be somebody on defense, and
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
and here's the thing: at 26, you're not going to get a Miles Garrett. You're gonna have to like swing and make contact, right? And there's guys that make the Hall of Fame that are drafted, in the second, third, fourth, fifth round. I mean, they
Right.
happen, they exist.
The leading free agent linebacker out there. Do we know?
Bud Dupree is a free agent, but he's coming off the knee. It's interesting, Dan, that you bring that up because when I was looking through the free agents, both of Baltimore, Judon and Yannick, they're both free agents. So Baltimore could lose one, two, or they could get both back. But still, I mean that's something to keep an eye out. And then Pittsburgh has Dupree and Hilton are free agents, so they could lose one or two.
Right.
But I would say Bud Dupree probably would have been the biggest. But now he's got that ACL. But if I pull up a list here
I'm
for
looking
you,
at the list too, and I'm looking at the thing that I care about is the age. I mean,
yeah,
the age and the price, right? I mean, most of the free agent linebackers are in their late 20s. I mean, we're talking about like 28, 29.
no, there's nothing really that jumps out at you
Hmm.
from an unrestricted free agent standpoint.
Yeah, because you got Von Miller's a free agent, but I don't think he's I don't know
He's
what his
getting up there.
status is. He's 32 years old.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, he'd be like a Malcolm Smith.
yeah. I mean, there's just isn't a killer out there. I mean, they're all 28, 29-year-old guys, and then, even then, it's like, how much tread do you have left on the tire? Vernon's 31.
Yeah,
You know,
trying to come back from a torn Achilles, which
Yeah.
I mean, Bud Dupree, if he'd be willing to come to Cleveland, number one, he's 28, going to be 29. He's $15 million,
yeah, and coming off a knee
and coming off a knee.
and late. So I mean, we don't know. I doubt that he's got OBJ rehabbing going on.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the free agent doesn't look great. I think we have to be looking at safety. Like, that has to be, safety and corner have got to be like considerations for us, and I'm fine even paying for an old one.
Yeah, like even like going through the draft and the draftnetwork.com is a really nice mock board. If I don't know if you guys have ever used it, but it's
Mhm.
pretty cool. Like it gives you everything. You could be the Browns and you could do the whole draft and the rest of it, you know, is automatic until it gets to you. And, you can click on the guy and it tells you, everything you want to know about him. But in the past first round mocks that I've been doing the past week, it's in terms of cornerback, there's no safeties that come off the board early, but Patrick Surtain is one of them that he's always usually the first one to come off. Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech is another one that comes off the board. Um, Also, J.C. Horn of South Carolina, and it seems like every time I get to 26, if you're looking uh, from a pure cornerback standpoint, Eric Stokes from Georgia is always the first available at that point, and fast kid, got good size, and good instincts. And then, uh, ironically enough, Asante Samuel Jr. is the next one, which is wild because I mean, Asante Samuel played with Tom Brady. Tom Brady is still in the NFL, and Asante Samuel has a kid that's being drafted into the NFL.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's so an
I
age.
Yeah.
and so I watched a lot of Caleb Farley play football. Um, he is he's just this he's just an athlete. I mean, and that's the thing I can say about him. He could be um like a Minka type guy because he can move, he can get anywhere, he can track you. He's got the speed. He doesn't have the shiftiness. He's not like I don't think he has the dexterity as like a corner, but he can run and he's got size and he's a tweener. He's like a a, a, a linebacker slash safety who's got some length and speed, right? So I think that's why people like him because he's super athletic. But I look at him like, can we plug him in and and get that, or is he going to be that guy that we're going to be there for a long time? And I don't know. The safety position coming out of college is a really tough one to get right. You know,
Right.
um,
Yeah,
you
the
know,
people are so much bigger in the NFL and faster, and it is a hard transition to make. Hey guys, I got to jump out of here, but I want to tell two personal stories real quick before I leave. First is to follow up on what I said on Sunday and the post game in terms of our open house. We had a great open house selling our house. We had 50 people come in.
Wow.
We had 8 offers the next morning. And out of the 8 offers, 5 were for full price
Wow. Little
and,
bidding war.
and one was for cash, all cash. So
so
we
he,
took that
so here's the deal. Somebody do they know that that your house is also a makeshift studio for this
one.
very
Oh, yeah,
YouTube channel?
they've seen this setup here, which is just off
I'm
our,
like, who is this
our
guy? He sees that
so,
microphone. He's like, "What is this? Is that a radio show he's got going on there?"
And talk cash money. I mean, the great Yogi Berra said cash. It's the same as money.
yeah, right. And then the second personal story is I have a friend who knows and is very friendly with Leroy Horde. And we are playing golf tomorrow at
Wow.
the country club here in Parkland. He's invited me. So I will get to meet him firsthand, tell him I'm a huge Browns fan, and hopefully establish some kind of relationship. And I'm sure I'm going to get an autograph. I'm sure I'm going to get a picture, a selfie, or whatever. And looking forward to it. He seems like a really nice guy. If you haven't, you know, done too much research on him, obviously he's had a great career with the Browns and Minnesota, and then he went off and came out of Michigan and was in New Orleans. I think it's where he grew up, but he's really a character. Yeah, I think he's got his own radio show as well, so he's got personality. And who knows? We may see him here on the Wednesday show, or maybe even the pre or post game show next year if we can establish a relationship. So I'm really looking forward to it.
So let me
So
get this straight. So we're going to work tomorrow, and you're going to play golf with Leroy Horde.
tomorrow is Saturday. I mean, every day for me is Saturday
It's
and has
Saturday.
for the last almost 20 years.
That's what my dad tells me.
So if my advice to all you guys, all you young guys out there, save your money, make your good investments. Obviously, you got to pay for your kids' education, that keep the spouse happy and everything. But put your money away. Hopefully, the stock market does well for you guys over the next 20 years. And if you get a chance to retire early, do it. People say, "Well, you'll be bored." Believe me, you will fill up that time without a doubt. There's plenty of things to do, plenty of things to get passionate about, like we're doing here with the Browns, or gaming, or whatever. I never thought I'd be on a pontoon boat. I never thought I'd be fishing at the shore. So, I mean, a lot of things going on. So I'm blessed, have been blessed for a long time. And hopefully I got a few more years in me, and get up there by Mike, and we'll do a lot of those same things together, be around the kids, see them grow up, that type of thing. So with that, I will sign off, let you guys take it from here. And maybe next Wednesday, I'll have a good report about how it went with Leroy Horde, number 33.
Well,
Very
tell him
cool.
we said hello.
Yeah, most
I
definitely.
will. Take
All
care,
right.
guys.
All right, Dad. Take care.
See you, Dan.
See you, Michael. Bye-bye.
Can't beat that. Going
No.
golfing with Leroy Horde.
Yeah, no, he's excited about it.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, yeah, don't hit him up to come on the show or anything like that. Just have fun with him. I grew up big time watching Leroy Horde when I was a kid. I remember the the Tecmo Super Bowl, the Sega Genesis version of it, the Super Bowl. Leroy Horde was a big part of that with Tommy Vardell in the backfield. Um, and we had some really interesting running backs at the time. It was Vardell, who was drafted very high. Eric Metcalf drafted very high. Horde drafted in the second round. It seemed like we were just drafting running backs left and right, and Leroy happened to be probably the most productive in a pure running back type role. He was that pass catching / bruising type running back with the big shoulder pads of that time.
Yeah, that cool helmet, their face mask rather.
Yeah, and I mean he was just like a guy that kind of came out of nowhere, out of the blue. Sports Bucket, thank you very much for the cheer, my man. And I don't know. I'm excited for my dad. I'm glad. I can't wait for him to move up here. We'll get to watch a whole lot of Browns games together.
Yeah, very cool.
And then hopefully, this COVID thing is over. We can get up there to Cleveland and go to some games and hang out and go drink at some bars up there with you and the wife, and do all that. I'm planning on
Be fired up now.
I'm planning on making at least minimum 2 trips to Cleveland next year for the games. One will be with my dad and one will be with my wife. So minimum 2 trips. I'm saving. I'm planning already. I have, we're talking. My dad was just talking about the market. Got some money in the market. Hopefully that continues to grow.
Yeah.
Bought medical marijuana stocks, and
You know what?
and they're doing very well.
You know what? It's funny you bring that up, because when I got into some of them, well, I should say I got into some of them real early, and then some of them a little bit later. And
Mhm.
the ones that I got in early, I'm starting to see, some solid movement. And the one that I got in late, there's movement, but I got to make up a little bit of ground. But the other one is, I hope it hits, because it was less than a penny stock at one point. It was I got thousands of it, so we'll see.
Wow, nice. Yeah, it's there's there's a company that we do business with down here in Florida that is 2 of them actually. One that we do business with, and their main competitor. And I think the one was trading right around $22, and I bought it then, and now it's at 44. So
Nice.
that hit. And then the other one is the competitor, which doesn't have the same foundation, structurally foundation, but I know that they're gonna, as soon as it goes legal everywhere, it's gonna hit.
Oh yeah.
So I got that, and then I bought another really cheap one for like $1.80, a share, and I bought a whole bunch of that just to see, because if it goes, it's gonna go, and all it has to do is go up to like $5, and I'm making a killing, and
Oh yeah.
that
Good to
pays
go.
for trips to Cleveland all day, So
Yeah.
hopefully Biden gets in there and everything just stabilizes. Good rights of return, all that kind of good stuff, and nothing gets shaky, because with COVID
don't
and
get
everything going
shaky.
on, hopefully everything just continue that trajectory, going north, going up. Really, that's what we need. It's interesting saying about COVID.
Yeah.
my school, the kid's school, just let us know that somebody in their class, in one of my kids' classes, tested positive for COVID. So now they have to like trace it and do all the same stuff that they do in the NFL. And then my
Yeah.
daughter's gymnastics class, somebody who was in her small little group in her gymnastics class tested positive. So both my kids have been exposed in the last 2 days. So my wife is all freaked out. So she's taking the kids tomorrow morning to get COVID tests, even though they feel fine. I mean,
Yeah.
my son's stomach was a little bit upset last night, but and I know that could be a sign, but these kids who got the that MMR vaccine. I mean, it seems like that's the one that they're thinking, really makes it so a lot of the little kids aren't getting it. But I mean, I
Yeah.
just I,
It's
I just hope that we can get through this BS.
no, I hear you.
You
And
know,
it's crazy. Like my two, it's a shame because they're seniors this year, and I mean, they've been virtual, and then you had the option to go hybrid, but they pretty much, and I don't disagree. There's not many going hybrid, so whatever semblance of high school life and what your senior year would have been, homecoming, the football games, proms, that's over for them, and it's horrible. But the point that I was gonna go to was, they did now take they're going hybrid. You had a choice, and it's crazy. I mean, it, it's everywhere up here. That if I mean, I literally, it feels like every other day, Laura sending me an email that we got from the school that said, "Hey, we just need to report that a
somebody's
student
got it.
tested positive. They were last in school on Tuesday, and then now there was a teacher. So it's. I mean, they're literally probably since they went back hybrid in the beginning of January, and I mean, it's not like I mean, we're only at. I mean, I guess we're pretty much we're at 20 days, but regardless, there's probably been at least 5 or 6 kids, and then at that point, you don't. It's just the whole thing is just wild, as you know. I mean, you just don't know. Like somebody, how many are walking around with no symptoms, and it's just yeah, it just needs to go away. But
Yeah, it's Beast Grills is going on. Since 2020 has been a terrible year. Real Browns fans, I'm tired of hearing it. Um,
I don't disagree with you.
you guys should call into TSB so we can talk the postseason matchups. The Sports Bucket. Yeah, let me know, man. Hit me up on Twitter. Um, I don't know what I've got going on Friday, but hit me up. You never know. Um, yeah, I think we're all just sick of it, and we just want to get through it. And the
Yeah,
only good thing is, as more people start getting it, the more people get through it. They build up the antibodies. Eventually, hopefully we'll have herd immunity, and it won't mutate, and we'll just be fine. But I can't wait to get. I really wanted to go to a game this year in Cleveland. It's been too long. I've been going to all these away games. It doesn't feel the same. It's great. You get a couple Browns fans. You see them. When something good happens. But I don't want to root against fans in their home
yeah,
stadium. It just doesn't feel the same.
yeah.
I want to be around the real Browns fan. And there's winnable games. All those home games are winnable.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
yeah, it'll be fun to do. Take a nice long weekend, get up there, enjoy it, all that kind of stuff, and it'll be
Real
great.
Browns fan, 32. That's a very interesting question in the YouTube chat, and it's one that I got to tell you, I sort of I wonder myself, and I know that they've been preparing the lakefront for the draft this year, but if you look at the memo that went out, and there's going to be no combine, it's going to be virtual, and you wonder, you know, how do you control something like that? I guess is really what I'm getting at in terms of if they have the draft in Cleveland, they can't just have the draft on the lakefront and say, no fans could come, because I mean, there's no way to control that, if you will. So I don't know. It's something to monitor. I wonder if we're not going to see another draft out of Goodell's basement again.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd be surprised if it might be live in one place, but I don't
Yeah,
know if it'll be like with fans.
yeah.
Um,
And I
you know,
guess it would just be like Vegas got pushed back. I guess we would just get pushed back.
yeah, and I'd be fine with that
Yeah,
because I think Vegas needs it. They spent all that money with that stadium. All that infrastructure that they put in to bring in the NFL. They got the Raiders. They got really the one team that does kind of belong in Las Vegas,
yeah,
and not to been able to use that place, that'd be a fun place to go to.
yeah. I
You know,
agree.
that'd be
The
fun.
Death Star, right?
Unfortunately, playing them 2 years in a row at home, which
Yeah,
is just ridiculous. But that's one stadium that I think I wouldn't mind going to. I've been to quite a few of the NFL stadiums. It's funny because not maybe not to watch only NFL games,
hmm,
but like I've been to the Superdome, the in New Orleans. It's the Superdome, right? That's what it's called. I
yeah.
can't remember. Yeah,
Hmm.
because there's like the Kingdom, which are all the
That
different
was
dome
that was the
names.
old. That's old school. You went old school there. The
Yeah, I was like,
Kingdom is the old Dave Craig Seahawks.
yeah, the Kingdom. What was the one in what was the dome in Detroit? What was the name of that one?
The Pontiac
The
Superdome.
Superdome. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I,
so it's weird watching dome games though. I'm an
yeah.
outdoor guy. I like the outdoor games.
I don't think I've ever seen a football game in a dome. No,
Uh,
I've
it's
never
funny.
seen one.
The Pontiac Superdome. If you go and Google this whenever you guys get a chance, I think
Yeah.
it got sold because
Hmm.
they built their new stadium. I think the Superdome or the Silverdome, it was the Silverdome, right? The,
Silverdome, yeah.
yeah, the Silverdome, because the Superdome is the one in New Orleans. So
Yes, yes, you're
the
right.
Silverdome, I think it sold for like $200,000.
Wow, that was the biggest crowd ever for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Was at the Pontiac Silverdome. I
Yeah,
think we already talked
we
about
talked
this.
about that. So that dome, right? Imagine, I mean, there's just the amount of money it would take to even turn the lights on in that place would just be insane.
Oh yeah,
But how fun would it be to be like, you know, have 200K laying around somewhere and just like
yeah, I'm gonna buy
maybe
that.
let's say you buy a house in Florida, like I've done, and it goes up in value. You got a little equity in there, you end up selling it. You walk away with 250 and you go and you buy the Silverdome. You just live in the Silverdome,
That's it.
right? It's like a dream come true.
So let me ask you a question. At that point, you like Baker Mayfield, except
Yeah.
of the dome variety. So you don't have to worry about mowing the grass or shoveling the snow off the seats. So you're
Yeah.
actually two steps ahead of him if you're taking you're living in the Pontiac
They had the
Silverdome.
Silverdome. I
Yeah.
mean, and you know what? I wouldn't replace the turf either. I'd leave the turf alone.
Yeah, you got to leave it.
The original turf, original seats.
Laying in it like, oh, Barry Sanders ran here.
Exactly. Like it would be fun to get a big projector, right?
Yeah.
And project down on the field, right? And it's funny. I know a guy who works for the Orlando City soccer team, and he was like, what would be awesome during the off season if we got this giant projector, right? If we could do it, maybe it would take like 6 different projectors all linked up together, something like that. Project
Right.
it on the field and play FIFA on a real. Just black it all out, so you only no lights, just so you project it down there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would be like, oh yeah, I'd be playing Tecmo Bowl on that thing, on in the real Pontiac Super Silverdome.
Even I would be into that now as a this newfound what is it, vigor, is that the name, newfound, right,
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
in
with
that
your new PS5.
yeah.
So
Uh,
how's it going, by the way? How many days are you into the PS5?
so I guess we started because we had it. And so
Sup,
when you
Greg?
get something new and you're just so excited that you got it, and then it sits there for like a day or two, like you're just
Oh yeah,
so.
dude, 100%. I just want before you get going, American Saxon, X-Men Avenger, Greg Tracy. What's going on, guys? Yes, I do. I know exactly how that. When I build computers and stuff like that, I'll go out and spend hundreds of dollars on parts, and they just sit there for days and weeks sometimes. And I'm like, well, I got to put it together, but
Yeah, that was me, and shame on me because I mean, all I had to do was swap out an HDMI cable, and but anyway,
Yeah.
so I guess we started Saturday night, I want to say,
Hmm.
and we picked up Call of Duty Cold War on. We picked the game up on Saturday, but we didn't start playing that one. I was watching her play Spider-Man, which looks like a really badass game that I'm excited to play. But
Yeah, I got that
I,
for my son for the PS4, and he's just like, it's
yeah,
amazing.
it's killer. Um, so I guess if you today's Wednesday, I'm probably 3.5 days into Call of Duty.
And what was the last console that you owned before that?
The PS4, but I couldn't even tell you the last game I played. Usually Laura plays, she loves The Last of Us, that game, so
Mm,
she'd play that and the sequel, and there's a couple of Uncharted she'd play. So I would just watch it like it was a movie. I just
yeah,
I didn't get back into gaming at that time, but now I'm hooked. But it was funny, we were talking the other day. You'll appreciate this.
real Browns fan saying digital or disc.
Disc.
Disc, got it.
Um, so I'm telling everybody, oh man, I got to tell you, this is so therapeutic. I don't even think about anything while I'm playing the video game. Like, it's enjoyable. And then it was like the powers to be said, oh yeah, no, 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 no. That's not how life works. So now you're stuck on this board forever.
Mm.
So I'm stuck on this same stupid level, I guess you would call it, to where I finally thought so and of course you do because you've been gaming for years, but when you're on a level,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had to crawl around all over the place. Finally figured out like which way to go. Finally pick lock this stupid door. Get all the information I need. I could have left the hostage, but I whacked him because I just thought that would be fun. And I thought, okay, this is it. The little save thing comes on. I'm getting ready to go on another. No, I'm not even close. And so yeah, so now I go down there. I shoot the guy. I think I let him live the last time. And I come out and I just get nailed. So last night it was probably like, I don't know, quarter of 12. I'm like, I got to put this thing down or else I'm going to be up all night. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
see,
enjoying it.
I don't think I've played through either the Modern Warfare or the Black Ops single player modes.
Really.
I don't. I just for some reason they're not like I don't. I play it purely for multiplayer,
Yeah.
and almost exclusively for the Warzone mode. Um,
Which we need to
and
talk about because I subscribed
okay,
so I could play online, but it keeps telling me when I go to Warzone, it keeps telling me that I need to download something else. But I think it might be a PS5, PS4 thing. I don't know if it's released or compatible yet with the PS5. So the way it looks,
I know there are players that are playing on it. It might be you have to get the PS4 version of it, and they haven't
and
released a PS5 version of Warzone yet.
and I
That might be what
think
it was.
yeah, and you tell me, but when I go in there and I look, I could see the Call of Duty, the one that I have, the Black Ops Cold War,
Hmm.
and it says cross gen PS5, PS4,
Hmm.
and I think that's it. But then that sucks because I just bought this stupid game. So now what do I have to? I got to buy that game so I can play online.
No, so Warzone's free, so it's free to play. So you shouldn't have to pay for it. But it's weird because like the PlayStation and Xbox now are more like they're more like computers really
Hmm.
than anything else, and they're trying to be less and less proprietary with with the games and stuff because
Hmm.
it doesn't matter. It's a computer that's playing with a one kind of controller versus another kind of controller versus keyboard and mouse, and you could even plug in a keyboard and mouse into them and play just like you're playing on a PC, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that the consoles are finally doing that. But because I play, I play Warzone with friends that play on Xbox, and they play with a controller on Xbox, and that's how they like to play. I could never do that. I was playing Rocket League with my kids today using this is a mini, it's an Xbox One, but it's like a mini kids controller. So this is like one of the first controllers that they had, but it's wired, so I can plug it into the USB on my computer and it just works. So I was playing Rocket League with them, but man, I just the two little thumb things, I can't. Keyboard mouse all the way, man, all the way. X-Men Avenger is saying they spent all day, a good portion of the morning, trying to figure out editing. A lot tougher than it looks. X-Men, I would, I guess it's almost like I kind of forget what it was like before I kind of knew how to do it. It's almost like when you play an instrument, and you're like, do you remember what it was like when you didn't know how to play the instrument? And you're like, no, I don't remember. You can't unlearn what you've already learned. But I can tell you, X-Men, there's a ton. Everything that I learned about editing and how to create videos and do all that stuff, and I'm admittedly I'll tell you right now, I'm not a very good editor. Just the pure art form of editing, I'm probably pretty poor. If you actually have a real editor look at my stuff, they're gonna like. There's not a lot of art to the actual edits of what I do. Mine is more about about telling a story with my videos. That's what I like to do, and I think you can do that being very average at the art. But there's tons of tutorials out there that you can learn. And Mike, same thing with you. If you're getting back into gaming and want to learn stuff about the PS5, there's just a billion of videos on YouTube, showing you guys how to do all that stuff. And, I know people were saying it was a tearjerker. People were crying. Like tears were coming down as I was making the video, as I was showing the video to people that were saying that they were crying when they were watching it. Made me emotional again.
Yeah. I was emotional. I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah, it was great. I think for me, it was tough because I even had more clips of people, and I tried to put in as many content creators and people that were are in Brown's Twitter and doing as much as I could. And I think I had like 6 or 7 other ones that I couldn't. There wasn't space.
Yeah.
Right. I had Sir Yacht in there, I think 3 times, and finally just cut it down to just one. That one at the very end when he was in Lake Erie. Yeah. And I was like, that's the one that hits, and and finishing off with our Wednesday show too. I was like, just because we started off somber with my dad. I want to have my dad in there because my dad's obviously very much part of the channel, and then having us end on one of something we were laughing about on the Wednesday show. I was like, that I think it just works, and ultimately for me as a Browns fan, it's been a lifelong journey with my dad, and the one thing that we have bonded the most over the course of my life was over the Browns, and that's one of the reasons why I'm as upset about the Baltimore Ravens as I always am, is because they took away my Browns. They took away that thing that we had. And now with my wife, my wife's watching the Browns. She even said, she's like, maybe I'll come on your show one time. Nice. And I was like, it's funny because I get a lot of people that are like, I really want to come on your channel. I really want to. And I'm like, part of me is like, I don't want to deal with the technology, teaching someone how to even join a Hangouts or stuff like that, or okay, get your webcam going. I don't even want to do that.
Right.
But the other thing is I also feel like I'm like, you can't ask. You just gotta be the right time, and and we have a lot of off season time now. There's a lot of dead time now that there's no Sunday games. So I do want to bring on more people from the community, and I thought it'd be fun to have a day where we do a big a big Zoom with everybody, and bring everybody in the chat, everybody from chat in, have 50 people in there, and I'm like, all right, next question, Saxon, go.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, just actually bring in everybody to do a chat. So yeah, the off season is gonna be fun. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep doing the Wednesday show, obviously during the off season. Why not? Right? There's stuff to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's always stuff to talk about with the Browns, and maybe one Wednesday show we'll just game. Just fire it up, And
Embarrass myself for a couple hours.
yeah, I mean it's all good. I was playing a little Warzone today. I had a light afternoon, and I was like, let me get in there, and they got like a mini version of it,
Yeah.
that's just very quick. Only 40 guys are in it, and I was like, man, I'm loving this. I was just loving it, just shitting on kids,
That's
and I'm
hilarious.
like, oh, I just love this.
I'd be the shitty.
Well, the cool thing about it is like with the new way that it works is, as long as one person on your team is alive
Yeah.
after like 40 seconds or something like that, you automatically respawn back in. So it's like a truly like a team thing. And if you kill, so if you're dead and you're waiting to respawn, and if I kill somebody, then it takes off like 7 or 9 seconds from like your wait time. So it's like it even speeds it up if you've got a team that's being very active. Um, so it's fun. I was playing some with my friend Cam yesterday, and
Yeah.
one of his I guess like stepsons, I guess, was, or maybe both of them were playing. Yeah, both of them were playing for a little while. So it's just awesome, to get in there and
Yeah.
just shit on some kids. Just reminds me of that. See, did you ever see the movie Bad Santa?
Yes.
Where he's like, "Well, what are you doing today?" So, just beat the shit out of some kids. But it was for a good cause. And
Yeah.
he just and the guy just looks at him like, "What the hell is wrong?" I just beat the shit out of a couple kids. Oh man. Well, I hate to cut it short, but I want to go check on, make sure everything's okay. With the old family now, with this COVID scare that we have going on. Nothing should be a problem, but I just want to make sure. I think my wife's actually more freaked out than I am.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, I think you're gonna be fine. But yeah, any final words, Mike, before we skedaddle?
No, it's we've it's pretty wild the for me, and you tell me if you agree or not, but the Wednesday show has been such a cool ride throughout the season, and there you can't even really say that there were a lot of ups and downs, because there was a lot of ups, and only because we never lost back to back games. So the excitement was at an all time high,
Yeah.
and it was just so exciting, and now we're entering into a different phase of Browns football, and which will it will be equally as exciting. I'm lying; it wouldn't be as exciting as us being in the championship game and in the Super Bowl, but because we're eliminated, you know, and we know what we've got now, this actually is kind of a really cool and exciting time, because there's going to be free agents, that are going to want to come because they see what we're building, and we're leading up to the draft, and that's going to be exciting, going through these mock drafts, and on Wednesdays talking about you know who we're looking at in the draft and who we're looking at in free agency, and then of course we're going to have to figure out how to come up with that great dartboard idea that we talked
Oh
about.
yeah, the draft's gonna be fun.
Yeah, so it's bittersweet that the actual season is over, but for us, we're into the new season, and I look at tonight as the first Wednesday show of the march to the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is,
Yeah,
it's not the end of this season; it's the start of the new season. Like our
yeah,
season's over. So,
yep,
and I think you're right. I was glad that we started the Wednesday show, because it was just like there was just too much to talk about. To,
yeah,
to only do pre and post game shows, there's too much going on during the week, especially when we had those Monday games, the Thursday game. Like, it's there's too much, and you're right. It's been for us to win 12 games this year, and we
yeah,
we talked about it, early on. We're like, how many just happy weeks do we used to have, and I was talking to some people on Twitter after I did the video, and I was like, they were like saying that they got emotional about it. I was like, you know what? I both hate and I love the fact that like the Browns have so much control over my like mental and happiness going into the fall and the winter.
Yeah.
those weeks is when the Browns win. I mean, when I wake up in the on Monday and the Browns win, it is like it's like I've been shot out of a cannon.
No, you.
I
I
mean,
couldn't agree more. Yeah.
I'm so happy. I want to get into the gym. I can't wait to start working, dropping off my kids at for in the morning. I drop my kids off in the morning and listen to music, and I'm happy. I'm vibing, and that's when the Browns win. And when they lose, it doesn't feel, it just feels numb,
Yeah.
and it's like it's it sucks, but it is like an emotional tie. And and I'm it's not that it's not that anybody would have wanted us to go through all those years of being in the in the gutter, but I got to tell you, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've seen the ratings be as high as they have been. It's because people are starting to notice that that this team, this is an underdog, a comeback story,
Yep.
and they want to see it, they want to be a part of it. And for those of us who have stuck through it, the good years, the bad years, our entire life, to finally have this, I can't tell you, and I'm sure that you've gotten a lot of the same response. How many
Yeah.
people reach out to me and were like, "Man, you guys are looking good, or you guys had another
Yeah.
win." It's and so many people are like, I'm gonna ride with the Browns. My team's out. The Browns are my team now. I'm rooting for them, and for me, I can't. When the Browns are out, that's it. I don't have
I
another
know.
team that I root for. Although Buffalo, if I had to say, there's one team that if I'd like to see somebody do it, it'd be great if the Bills could do it.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm not gonna it's not gonna matter. I'm gonna wake up the next day after the Super Bowl, and go, yeah, good.
Yeah.
It's not gonna matter to me. But
Right.
but if I had to, I would say that.
Yeah.
Greg, Tracy, can't get enough of the three of you. Maybe you should do a Thursday Friday show too. Just Brown show. If we had enough to talk, I mean, I honestly, during the season we probably could. Like
Yeah, we probably could. Probably
during
wind up divorced, but we could.
yeah, we could. Yeah, that's the other thing too. And that was the reason I was gonna do empty backfield on Monday, and then I was just hanging out with the family, and I was like, we've given so much time to creating content and being on stream this year. I was like, it's the season's over. Let me just we have the Wednesday,
Yeah.
we'll be able to do that. But yeah, I appreciate Greg. I appreciate that, man. I'm glad
Yeah,
that you're
big time.
Greg. Thanks for coming back to Patreon, man. I really appreciate that as well. Everybody who's in there, appreciate all you guys. So all right, well, short one. This is only an hour and 38 minutes, which is
Wow.
usually we go much deeper, but business calls. So guys, appreciate it. Mike, thank you very much for joining as always,
Absolutely.
and we'll see you next week, next Wednesday.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Go Browns.
Go Browns.